Okay, it's I gotta go fast. So I have AX and BX are congruent. So you mark those. CX and DX are congruent. And it's a bow tie, so there's vertical angles. This is side, angle, side. C. In the drawing, what's ZYT? So we're looking for this angle here. Well, if this is 40, then this is 40. And these are remote interior angles, which means 40 and 60 add together to make 100 degrees. If you really wanted to, you can go to 80 right here, because that's a triangle in itself. And then 180 is a straight line, minus 80 gives you 100. Which type of triangle has two angles that measure 30 degrees? So that would be an obtuse triangle, because 30 plus 30 is equal to 60, and 180 minus 60 is 120, which means it's obtuse. Number 4. So G and Z are congruent, and F and Y are congruent, so that's 60. And if we want to find out what X is, we just have to do 180 minus 90 minus 60 to get 30 degrees. 5. What would you use here? This is the reflexive property, and this would be angle, side, angle. Remember, this is angle K, that's angle L. This is side length KL, therefore it is the included side. The angle formed by the legs of the isosceles triangle is called the vertex angle. Don't have to worry about that for your test though. Okay, next, 7. Which of the following sets of info says you cannot conclude? So let's draw a couple triangles. We're going to draw a few. A, B, C, D, E, F. So A, B, D, E, B, C, E, F, A, C, D, F, side, side, side. That one's fine. It says does not. So we want to figure out the ones that are bad. This has 3 angles. There is no such thing as angle, angle, angle. We don't have that. So it's B. Let's check these just to be sure. Let's look at A, B, C, D, E, F. So A, B, and D, E. B, C, and E, F. Angle B and angle E are congruent, so that's SAS. That one's fine. And then let's do these triangles. We'll have A, B, C, D, E, F. It says A and D are 90 degrees. AB is congruent to DE. BC congruent to EF. Those are congruent by a hypotenuse leg. So your answer is B. 8. Which theorem could you use? This one is going to be angle, angle, side. This is angle C. This is angle A. AC is not marked, so therefore it has to be AAS. If you have 2 angles in a side, they're congruent to each other. You just have to know whether or not the side is the included side or not. 9. Reflexive property says that these guys are congruent. So that's going to be SAS. Again, this is side VS. This is side SU. S repeats, and that is the included angle. 10. What's the length of the leg? If that's 45, this is 45. And they point to the opposite sides to be equal. 3x plus 4 equals 7x minus 8. We get 4x is equal to 12, or x is equal to 3. Now here's the thing, they did not ask us for x, they asked us for the length of a leg. So you got to plug it back in. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 4 is 13. 7 times 3 is 21, 21 minus 8 is 13. So make sure you plug them back in. Find the value of x. These are congruent, so if that's x, this must also be x. So it's 2x plus 110 equals 180, and you solve and get x equals 35. 12. Which statements could you say? So we want to prove that they're parallel to each other. So we have given, those guys are congruent to each other. So angle RSP is congruent to STW. And if you guys were to lengthen out these sides, that looks kind of like what we've been working on at the beginning of the year. Those are corresponding angles. 13, determine the value of x. So we could use remote interior angle theorem. We can't say that this is x because we don't know this is isosceles. So this is 2x plus 20 equals x plus 70, and x is equal to 50. QRT, so Q has a single arc, S has a single arc, so Q goes with S. Right away we know it's either C or D. R has no arc, so from 1 to no. So from one arc to no arc would be T. The answer is D. What's the measure of G? So G matches up with L. L is 67, so G is 67. The common angle, look for the diamond. K is the tip of that diamond, so the common angle is angle K. That is also the only letter that repeats. If more than one letter repeats, it's likely a common side, though not guaranteed. Let's look at these triangles right here. So we're going to separate them. We add right angles. This is bad, and this is CAD. So we have BD is congruent to CA. And since AD and AD are a common side, they share them. So this is hypotenuse leg. A is congruent to D. B is congruent to C. And D is congruent to A. Oh man, okay. Draw them separately. The right angles were here. BD congruent to CA. We mark those off just like this. And since they share AD in common, those are common sides. So this would be hypotenuse leg theorem. A is a right angle and D is a right angle, so A matches with D. Then we have B is way up here and C is way up here, so B and C match up. And the only thing you have left is D congruent to A. Uh, 18. So again, let's draw them separate. Here is X, Y, Q. And this is W, Y, Z. So YXQ is congruent to YZW. XY is congruent to ZY. And these guys are congruent. So this is angle side angle. X is congruent to Z. Y is congruent to Y. And Q is congruent to W. You kind of just go according to the markings. Reflect over the y-axis. So this is the y-axis here. That's what you have to cross. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's G prime. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's J prime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there is H prime. Reflect over the x-axis. So here's the x-axis. 1, 2, 1, 2. There's H prime. 1, 2, 1, 2, there's J prime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's G prime. Describe the transformation. This to me looks like a rotation 90 degrees clockwise. So it goes that way. And then a reflection over the x-axis. So I would come down to here. That's interesting. Let's see. I is way up here. Yeah, way over here, and then it would flip. Yep. Describe this transformation. And this looks like to me it would be a we could reflect over the x-axis. So that would put M right here, and that would put N right here, and this would put O right here. Then we would go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up 2. So translate right 7, up 2. Find the value of x. This is remote interior angle, so 2x is equal to 20 plus 30, so x is equal to 25. All the angles add to 180, so this would be 10x plus 30 is equal to 180, and x equals 15. For 25, these base angles are the same right here, so we would say that this is y and this is y. So let's figure out what we have here. By the way, this is an obtuse triangle. And this one right here, when you plug 15 in for x, it would also be obtuse. This has two congruent sides, so this is an isosceles triangle. And so y's, these are 65 degrees, and this is 65 degrees. So 5x plus 40 is equal to 50 plus 65. And therefore, we have x equals 15. For this, these two guys are congruent. So 54 equals 9x. Solve and you get 6 equals x. For 27, these are all the same. This is equilateral. So this is 15x is equal to 180, or x is equal to 12. Okay, so statement and reason. This is my statement. My reason is it is given. My second thing. So let's mark them. GH and IH. GH, IH. Mark it. Then we have J is the midpoint. If J is the midpoint, that means these two sides are congruent to each other by the definition of midpoint. GH is congruent to, GJ is congruent to JI, and that is by the definition of midpoint. Again, you're just looking for words in here that would kind of give away a clue. Next, this is a figure that's being cut in half, so that's the reflexive property. JH is congruent to JH by the reflexive property. Oh, we need to finish the problem. So triangle JGH is congruent to triangle JIH by side, side, side. For 29, we have parallel. LM is parallel to KN. And angle L is congruent to angle N. So it kind of just depends on how far you want to go with this. So this would be given for the first line. And we have the parallel. So angle 1 is going to be congruent to angle 4. And that is by alternate interior angles. Next, we have the reflexive property. Km is congruent to Km. Something is being cut down the middle, so we get to mark that for free. That's reflexive. And you can stop right here and say angle, angle, side. The side is not between the two angles. So angle KLM is congruent to triangle MNK, and that is by angle, angle, side. If you wanted to, you could also say that angle 3 is congruent to angle 2 by alternate interior angles, and you can do angle, side, angle. That also works. We have to round out our proof by saying KL is congruent to MN, and that is because the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, there's your review. Good luck. Come to school tomorrow with questions.